Now we are on to section 3 of test 2 and listening test. So you will be provided with an audio and there is a conversation between two people. You need to listen to them very carefully, and these questions from 21 to 30 actually, because there are partitions 21 to 24 etc. So these questions will be based on the conversation which you hear. So you need to listen carefully because it will be played only once. So I will try to imitate for you. So let's start. Pam. Hi June. As you know, I have asked you here today to discuss the future of our self-access center. We have to decide what we want to do about this very important resource for our English language students. So can you tell me what the students think about this? Well, from the students' point of view, we would like to keep it. The majority of students say that they enjoy using it because it provides a variation of the classroom routine and they see it as a pretty major component of their course. But we'd like to see some improvements to the equipment, particularly the computers. There aren't enough for one each at the moment, and we always have to share. Well, yes, the teachers agree that it is very valuable resource, but one thing we have noticed is that a lot of students are using it to check their personal emails. We don't want to stop you student using it, but we think that the computer should be used as a learning resource, not for emails. Some of us also think that we could benefit a lot more by relocating the self-access center to the main university library building. How do you think the student would feel about that, June? Well, the library is big enough to incorporate the self-access center, but it wouldn't be like a class activity anymore. Our main worry would be not being able to go to the teacher for advice. I'm sure there would be plenty of things to do, but we really need teachers to help us to choose the best activities. Well, there would still be a teacher present and he and she would guide the activities of students. We wouldn't just leave them to get on with it. Yes, but I think the students would be much happier keeping the existing setup. They really like going to the self-access center and their teacher and staying together as a group or to do activities. If we could just improve the resources and facilities, I think it would be fine. Is the cost going to be a problem? It's not so much the expense that I'm worried about, and we have certainly got room to do it, but it's the problem of timetabling a teacher to be in their class or outside class hours. If you're going to spend a lot of money on the equipment and resources, we really need to make sure that everything is looked after properly. Anyway, let's make some notes to see just what needs doing to improve. See just what needs to be done to improve the center. Now, what about the computers? I think it might be a good idea to install some good new models. They would take up a lot less room, and so that would increase the workspace for test books and so on. That would be great. It is a bit cramped and in there at times. What about other resources? Do you have a list of things that the students would like to see improved? Yes, one of the components that students frequently make is that they find it difficult to find materials that are appropriate for their levels, especially reading resources. So I think we need to label them more clearly. Well, that's easy enough. We can get that organized very quickly. In fact, I think we should review all the study resources as some of them are looking a bit out of date. Definitely, the CD section especially needs to be more current. I think we should get some of the ones that go with our latest course books and also make multiple copies.
Good. Now, I was also thinking about some different materials that we haven't got in there at all. What do you think of the idea of introducing some workbooks? If we break them up into separate pages and laminate them, they would be a great resource. The student could study the main course book in class and then do this follow practice in the self-access center.
That sounds good.
Okay, now finally we need to think about how the room is used. I'll have to talk to the teachers and make sure we can all reach some agreement on a timetable to supervise the center after class. But we also need to think about the security too, especially if we are going to invest in some new equipment.
What about putting in an alarm?
Good idea. The other thing I would like to do is talk to our technicians and see whether we could somehow limit the access to email. I really don't want to see the resource misused.
What about if we agree to only use it before and after class?
Yes, that would be fine. Okay, anyway, that's great for now. We'll discuss it further when we have managed to. So, this was the conversation between June and Pam, and now we will try to look at the answers, right? Because the answer lies in the communication between these two people. Let us start. First is choose the correct letter ABC. 21 is students want to keep the self-access center because in the conversation it was being said that they see it as pretty major component of their course. So it's an important part of their studies because yes, it is an important part of their studies because it has been said that they see it as a pretty major component of their course. 22nd, some teachers would prefer to do what? If we can go back to the conversation, it was some of us also think that we could benefit. Actually, Pam has said, so I'll speak like that.
Some of us also think that we could benefit a lot more by relocating the self-access center to the main university library building.
So some teachers would prefer to close the self-access center, move the self-access center somewhere elsewhere, restrict access to the self-access center. So it was B, relocating to the main university library building. Coming to 23rd, the students' main concern about using the library would be. It was being said that our main worry would be not being able to go to the teacher for advice. So it is actually B, difficulty in getting help. 24 is the director of studies is concerned about 24th. So it was being said by Pam that
but it's the problem of timetabling a teacher to be in their outside class hours.
So this was the difficulty of supervising the center. C will be the answer. So now from 25th to 30 we need to complete the notes below and we can only put at most 2 words. Necessary improvement to the existing self-access center. Equipment, replace computer to create more space. Then resources. The level of 25 was being said. They find it difficult to find materials that are appropriate for their level, especially reading resources. So the level of the reading resource materials in particular should be more clearly shown. Update the dash collection. Update the dash collection. 26, it was said that the CD section especially needs to be more current. So CD collection. Then 27, buy some dash and divide them up. 27. By some, Pam has said,
the idea of introducing some workbooks, if we break them into separate pages and laminate them, they would be a great source.
so buy some workbooks and divide them up and laminate them. Then coming to 28th, speak to the teachers and organize a dash 28 for supervising the center. So this will be 28. It was said by Pam that I'll have to talk to the teachers and make sure we can all reach some agreement on a timetable to supervise the center after class. So speak to the teacher and organize a teacher for supervising the center. This can be a good one. Or organize a timetable to supervise the center of the other class. That will be timetable. Then coming to 29, install an alarm. Then restrict personal use of dash on emails. That is, limit the access of email. So personal use of email on computers. So this was section 3, test 2, listening. Thank you so much. Take care.